Alright, hey guys, this is Team with Fritters. Welcome back to the channel. I have a quick in the bag video for you today. I have a tournament in 6 days and I want to show you guys what I've dialed my bag to be for the first tournament of the year. I'm going to try to carry this bag, which is the European Birdies Free 2, instead of my pound bag, only because it's supposed to be raining that day, and so I wanted to carry this instead of an all-white alpine color bag. I do have a rain fly for it, but I want to try to keep it as clean as possible. This bag right here, I want to show you guys also. Berg Sports is going to send me a V4 Ultimate, which is their tournament bag. I've been using the Manta for practice rounds. If that V4 does come in before next weekend, I will be using that bag instead of this. And if you guys want to check out what the Berg Sport V4 Ultimate looks like, it does come in black and mint. You can go to their website. I will have that link in the description of this video, along with my discount code. It's VERYDISC, and you get 10% off any of their bags at their website, which is pretty cool. They have other bags too besides just the Manta and the V4. There's also a V3 that carries like, I want to say like 50 plus discs. Anyways, back to this bag here. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys kind of what I carry on the side here. So because it's going to be a cold round, like about 40 degrees with chance of snow and rain, I will carry extra towels. There's also an extra mini in here. This is a retriever right here to get in case I lose a disc. There's also hand warmers in this little pocket right here. We have pens, markers, and pencils on this little pocket. We have water bottles here. Obviously, gonna get fresh ones before the day of the tournament. We have a towel right here. In this side pocket, there's going to be my brace for my elbow, flight towel, and then along with my rangefinder and my dry bag. And then usually I take my dog with me, so there's some poop bags on the side here. This is going to carry extra socks and extra towels or extra layers on this side of the pocket. Moving on to the discs here, I'm going to start with down here. So everything that's to the left of this bag is going to be either overstable or high-speed drivers. Anything to the right of this orange disc is going to be understable or slower speed discs. So let's start with this all the way to the left here. First disc is going to be the time lapse. I use this. Oh, let me tell you what I throw. So I throw maximum 300 feet on a golf line. I don't know what my actual max distance without a golf line is. I believe it's probably, I would say probably 320, 350, I don't know. And I also throw that about 60 to 70% of power. I do not throw max power because I want to preserve my body for as long as I can. So with that being said, I use a time lapse in order to throw anything about 200 to 260 where I am so I'm a backhanded right-handed thrower. I'm primarily a backhanded thrower, but I do sometimes throw forehand. So on a line where I need the disc to go dog leg left, and I would need it to go quick, I will use a time lapse. And look, guys, there's going to be people that are going to say, why am I throwing this disc? My distance isn't that far. Look, if I find a disc that I could throw where it dumps really, really hard by me throwing flat or even anhyzer, I'm going to use it. And I really like this disc. Number one, the grip is different from most Axiom and MVP discs I've used. Number two, it does what I need it to do, and it also does really well in the wind. Like today, I had 20-mile-per-hour winds, and it's a perfect day to use a disc like this. Also, I use it on forehand shots as well off the tee. So anything between 200 and 260 feet, I will use this disc to try to finesse my way down the fairway with the time lapse. The next two discs are going to be Grace. This Grace is actually the first time or one-time world, and this Grace is a two-time world champion, Kristen Tatar. For some reason, this one is more stable, and this one is less stable. So I use both of these for windy conditions. This one, anything over 20 mile-per-hour winds. This one for 20 and less. This one, I also use it on calm days where I do a very pronounced anhyzer, again, backhand, and it flexes back. So that's what I use this one for. Both of them I can use on forehand as well off the tee, and if I have a long upshot of up to 270 feet or 200 or just something comfortable. If it's uphill, it's probably gonna be like 220, 240. If it's downhill, it's probably 270. I will use these as a sidearm if I want to do flex. This one, throw in a baby hyzer and it flex very slow. This one, more pronounced hyzer and it flex very slow. Whereas the time lapse, it's a quicker flex, meaning that it will fade out much quicker than these two grays. By the way, if you haven't tried Grand Plastic by Latitude 64, I would highly recommend trying it. They are grippy and they're great for the winter. Same with the Neutron Axiom Time Lapse or Simon Line discs. The next disc is going to be the Grand Strive. This is a prototype. I got this in a mystery box, and apparently I ended up really liking this. It throws very similar to my old first run nuke from Discraft. It is a bit more stable, and the plastic holds up a little bit longer than the old ESP plastic on the nuke. So I actually started liking this a lot. It is less stable than any of these three discs, and the Grace or the time lapse. However, it can handle up to 10-mile-per-hour wind, meaning if there is a headwind, I throw it flat, it will turn over a little bit and it'll try to fade at the end, not as much as the other two, but it will do its job and it gets a lot of distance and a lot of glide. And on calm days, I can throw this on backhand on a flat shot and it will fly straight flat for a while before it fades. So it's a really nice disc. If I am having a good day and I can put a lot of torque on this, if I'm turning over the other discs, then I'll go ahead and pull out this drive. The next two discs are utility discs. I used to throw Raptors. However, the Raptor, the ESP plastic is becoming slick in my hand. So I got this in a box and it's a Grand plastic and this is much more grippy just like the Grace. So I actually started throwing this and it actually throws very similar to my 4-year-old Raptor ESP that has now become too smooth and slick. And this is much more grippy. I can throw this backhand or sidearm. I use this a lot to get out of trouble. If I shank my tee shot, I'm going to go ahead and use this to get out of trouble from the woods or if I'm off the fairway. So this is really good. I've hit the green so many times with this disc now. It actually flies very similar to my Raptor, so I kind of pick up where I left off with the Raptor. So I'm actually enjoying this disc. Today, 20-mile-per-hour wind. It was actually 22 miles per hour wind. I threw this flat, and when I throw it flat, it stays flat, and then it comes back with fade in the end towards the green. So very good disc for me. This Pioneer in the Opto plastic, by the way, sorry, this is Grand Plastic, Grand Plastic, Grand Plastic, and then Neutron on the time lapse. The Pioneer is in the Opto plastic. This one is for any kind of skip shots. I used to have a very stable Raptor, like a Captain's Raptor, that Stan let me borrow. And I used to throw when I need a skip shot where I am throwing this on the ground, letting it hit the ground on a hyzer like this, and it's just swinging left. Just swinging left towards the green like 40, 50 feet. That's what this is for. I like this Opto plastic better than the Z plastic out of Discraft. For some reason, their new plastic just doesn't do well for me. And so I started trying Latitude 64's disc, and this really, really is much more grippier and much more premium feel in my hand, and is not as slick. So therefore, I started using this, and this is actually the perfect disc for that. I could also use this sidearm as well. It's much more stable than the Honor, so I'll put it on a much more pronounced anhyzer, and it flexes back towards the green. Doesn't go as far, doesn't have as much glide as the Honor, which is fine, because when I need a disc that dumps quick, sort of like the time lapse, but shorter distances, this is the disc for me. Next is the Glory. I actually started falling in love with this disc. Got it as a gift, I believe. I can't remember. But the Glory is basically a T-bird for me. I used to throw T-birds a lot. However, the T-bird, for some reason, they kind of beat in pretty quick. And they don't handle the wind as well as this Glory. And it might just be just me. Maybe I'll just get another T-bird and do a comparison video for you guys. But basically, this today, headwind, 20 mile per hour, it does, this is kind of beat in. Throwing it flat, it does gotta go to the right a little bit before it fades, and it's a very slow fade at the end. But on calm days, I throw this flat, it goes flat for a while, and then it dumps, but shorter distances. So anything up to 200 feet where I needed it to go either uphill or downhill, this is perfect disc for that. The next disc is a DD. This is only used in two conditions where I'm having, like today, 20 mile per hour straight tailwind, no crosswinds or anything. Crosswind, this disc doesn't do very well for me. Straight tailwind, throw this on a hyzer, it flips up and it stays flat. It does not turn over because of the tailwind. straight, flat like this, or on a hyzer, slight hyzer, and this thing just flips up, flies straight before it fades. It does have a fade of 2, so it can fade for quite a bit. So if I throw it too high and nose up, it doesn't do too well. So that's the DD. So there's only that situation, and then the only other situation on calm days is on a very, very hyzer through tight gap out of the tee box. That's the only time I will use this, because I need it to flip up but still kind of stay on hyzer for a little bit and carry forward momentum before it fades out. Again, the only time I use this is if I'm feeling good and I have plenty of power and plenty of torque and pop, then I'll use this. Otherwise, I disc down. And when I disc down, the next 3 drivers are my main go-to drivers. I have 3 sapphires. The first one is the more stable. This one will fight wind, anything up to 10 mile per hour winds. It can go up to 20 mile per hour, but it's very, very tricky. So this one, it's very stable compared to the other 2 sapphires. It will fade. It's got a lot more fade than the 1.5 that it says on here. This is in the gold line plastic. And it's the heaviest out of all these sapphires, because the sapphires are considered the beginner-friendly, user-friendly, easy-to-use driver category of Latitude. But on the heavyweight, the more dome, and the the gold line, not the Orbit, the gold line here, this one is a bit more stable, and so I use it when I need something to dump farther. The next one, these 2 are similar. They have a 1 and a 2 on the back of it, because this one is way more beat up. This one, I can throw it on a hyzer, it will flip up even on calm days. On windy days, this does not work. This thing just flips over and doesn't come back. It sometimes even turns into a roller, so I don't use this on windy days. However, if there's a tailwind and I'm not feeling up for the DD, I will go ahead and pull this out and throw in a tailwind, throw it flat. It'll turn over a little bit, and then the tailwind will carry it back to fade. This is just a number 2, meaning it's a backup to this guy, so that eventually this one will flip over too much, then I'll go ahead and use this. But this one is a backup. This one is a bit more stable, so basically it goes least stable, stable, most stable sapphire. So that's my 3 sapphires. Next disc will be the Brave. This is my new favorite fairway driver. And the reason why I say that is because the prototype, when I started using it, this thing flies straight for days. It reminds me of my my Stalker, my pre-flight number stalkers, PFN stalkers. So this, whatever line you put this on, it will stay on that line. The stock run ones are less stable. So this one, if I throw it flat, it will turn on me. It will turn on me, and usually it doesn't come back. So this is a good turnover disc where I need to throw it flat and it will turn to the right. And it's a slow turn. It's not like too quick of a turn. And then this stock run one, if I throw it on a hyzer, it will flip up and ride straight for a while before it fades down. Whereas this one, if I throw it flat, it will stay flat, and then it will drop down. If I give it enough height, it will stay flat, and then it will fade. These 2 I can't really sidearm, whereas the Glory can handle the torque on the sidearm, whereas the Brave does not. The Brave is more of a light touch flip up, and on windy days, these are really hard to throw, so I don't use these for windy days, just calm days. The last 4 discs in this main compartment are mid-range. The first 2 mid-range is a Tersis. This is the straightest mid-range I've used. Tailwind is very stable, but on calm days, I throw it on a flat, on a slight hyzer. This one is lighter, so it will flip a little bit and turn before it tries to come back. But generally speaking, if I throw it on put it on an hyzer line, it will stay on that ante for quite some time. Whereas this one, the VIP Moonshine, it will try to fight back if I put it on anhyzer. I have to put it on a very pronounced anhyzer for it to stay on that line. But this one is dead straight, and it kind of lands. It has a little bit of more fade at the end than this one does. So, and this one's the tournament Orbit. This is 170 grams, and this is 176. So those are the 2 different weights. So yeah, this is my main mid-range through the woods, are these 2. And then if I need something that is throw it flat, it stays flat. Throw it hyzer, it stays hyzer. Throw it anhyzer, it stays hyzer, but still fights back. That's the Claymore. This is the disc that reminds me the most of my first Buzz ever from 2008. And my old Buzz flies very similar to this Claymore. This is the gold line plastic. And this one, it can fight the wind, but it's in winds that we had today, I actually could not throw it as well, so I had to step up to the next mid-range that you'll see here. But this one, calm days, anything from 10 to 15 mile per hour, it's okay. Put on a high zero, flip up, and it'll rise straight for a while, and it'll just land straight. So it's a very straight disc for windy days. It's also one of those discs where you can put on different lines and manipulate it for it to, but with a slight fade at the end. It's got a fade of 1 only, but if you give enough height, it will fade pretty far. On windy days, I throw an anchor. I also sidearm this anchor as well. So if something where my approach disc can't reach, I'll go ahead and reach the anchor. It handles torque very well. It's very beefy, and it's very flat. It's almost flat top. So this is, I like my forehand disc to be flat top and not domey. It's really hard for me to throw domey ones. So for example, today, 20 mile per hour wind, throw this flat. I even threw it on a slight anhyzer, and it still fought back. So that's how beefy this anchor is. This is the optoplastic. My next set of discs are putters, and I have 6 of them. The first one is the Savior. This one is beefy. It is the Grand Plastic, and it is beefy. I used to throw a zone. However, ever since I grabbed one of the Grand Plastic Latitude 64 discs, I fell in love with the plastic. So I got some more discs, and I basically started switching over over the winter. Also, the Savior is a lot flatter. The rim is a lot more shallow compared to the zone. So therefore, it's actually easier for my small hands to grip than the zone. So if you are one to have a hard time with the zone because the rim is too deep, go ahead and try the Savior. It's more shallow in terms of the rim, and it's flatter on the top. Some of the zones are puddle top. Some people like the puddle top. I'm really not a fan of the puddle top, so I prefer this flat at the top here, and the Savior will do that. This Grand Plastic will skip a little bit more than the next plastic, which is the Sens plastic. I got this out of a mystery box, and I love this plastic. It's so very similar to the Jawbreaker or the soft zones, and except it's flat. It hasn't developed a puddle top like the soft zone or some of the soft Jawbreaker ones. I know the soft zone has a puddle top. Stan has one, and it's very puddle top, and it's got like dimples in it already. Don't care for discs that feel like that. So this Sens Savior is very similar to that zone that he has. The moment it hits the ground, it just kind of plops. It doesn't really skip anywhere. It just sits. And this one's less stable, so it flies straighter, so I can throw it straight, and then it dumps towards the green. Whereas this, I have to give it a little bit of ante. Both are also great for sidearm. This sidearm is a flex sidearm on this one. This one's a flex sidearm, but I have to give it more height, and it takes a little bit while before it comes back. So those are the 2 Saviors. The next 2 discs are understable putters. The first one is going to be the Pure Zero Medium Orbit Pure. It is the Kristen Tatar logo. You can get one without this logo, and it'll cost you a lot less money. This particular one, it's one of those understable mid-range. If you throw it with finesse and give it hyzer, it will ride hyzer the whole entire way before it dumps. If you give it a lot of power, more than the speed of 3 that it requires, it will flip up and sometimes even turns over, and then it'll stay straight the rest of the way. So it flies very, very straight if you throw it on a hyzer. If you throw it flat, it will turn over and doesn't really come back. So that's the Zero Medium Pure. The next one is the Opto Pure, except it's like the sparkly blue Pure with the Disc Golf Pro Tour stamp on it. It was on sale. I don't know why it was on sale, but this sparkly blue, I could not resist. I could not say no. I had to get the sparkly blue one. So this one, it reminds me very much like my old Fierce from Discraft. Flies very similar to it. It doesn't release the same. It's got more of a pronounced bottom of the rim here compared to the Fierce. But I like the feel of this a little bit better. I don't know if I like the release, but we'll work with it and see what happens. So it flies like the Fierce. I put it on a hyzer, it will flip up and fly straight. If I throw it flat, it will turn over. It will try to fight back, but it's got a very little fade, so it might as well, I just consider it flying straight. It's a very straight putter in the premium plastic for the Opto Pure. My 2 putting putters are the Hopes. I putt with Hope. I used to putt with Lunas, except it had too much fade, and then it glides a lot and it has more fade. So what happens with any putter that are speed 3, where it reads 3, 3, -1, 1, What happens with those putters is if I don't put enough speed on it, because there's certain putts where I can't generate enough torque to give it the same speed each time, if I'm around the tree, straddle putt, anything like that, it will fade and glide a little bit more than a putter that's a speed 2. So prior to the Lunas, I actually putt with P2s, except the P2, the rim was a little too deep, so I kept getting caught in my finger because my fingers are really small. So eventually I got to the Luna and then they were doing fine, but then the Lunas beat in really quick. So then I finally got these. There's a prototype here in a regular stock run. Found these in the Sense plastic, and I said, well, if it's very similar to the Savior, I would not mind that. It's not as soft as the Savior Sense in the Sense plastic. It is a little bit more firm. However, I really like it because it beats in very slow, which is fine. There's not a lot of plastic chips coming off it. And it's a speed 2301. What that means is that I don't have to give it a lot of pop for it to fly straight. And they both fly very straight for me in putting. And I love it. And I can manipulate this putter to go straight, anhyzer, and it has a little fade at the end, but it takes its time, which is fine because usually I'm doing a slight anhyzer, it's already reaching the basket. So by the time it hyzers back, it's in the basket. And then I could do a hyzer and it stays on that hyzer the whole time. So it actually is very easy to manipulate this putter compared to the Luna for me. Also, I throw this putter as well, this light gray one, and it flies dead straight without turning over compared to the Pier. The Pier turns over, whereas this doesn't, even though it's a speed 2. I can throw it almost the same speed as the Pure, and for some reason, because of that zero turn on this putter, it doesn't turn. It just flies straight and doesn't really turn unless I turn it over. So that's the two different putters. So yeah, so those are all my discs in the bag. If you have any questions or comments, leave it in the comment section below, and I will answer them as quickly as I can. Any suggestions on any discs? I would love to get my hands on overmolds by Latitude. I heard that they did some, and I don't know why they stopped, but I heard they did some, and I would love to get that because I was doing overmolds all last summer, and they were all super flat. And I really like to have some of these dome in my discs again. Also, don't forget, any Berg Sports bags that you want to check out, again, link in the description below. And the moment I get the V4, I will show it to you guys. But in the meantime, Viridisc is the code, 10% off any of those Berg bags at their website. This is here with Viridisc. This is my In the Bag, and I'll see you guys next time.